Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Wednesday is a WRAL weather alert day. A winter storm is on the way. I'll have the timing and the amounts coming up.
And bracing for the potential of snow and ice, how crews are preparing the roads ahead of that winter storm.
Plus, protests at the state capitol. Demonstrators take a stand over the state Supreme Court race. Good Monday afternoon to you. I'm Jeff Hogan.
And I'm Michelle McConaughey in for Renee Chu. Thanks for joining us. Wednesday is now a WRAL weather alert day. And we have live team coverage for you. Let's check in first with meteorologist Amy Wilmoth with everything you need to know.
It's going to arrive Wednesday morning, likely right during the morning commute, and the impacts will linger into Thursday because temperatures will remain below freezing. We're talking snow, sleet, and freezing rain. We'll get all of it here in central North Carolina. Roads will become treacherous beginning Wednesday morning, and we could even have some spotty power outages because of some icing expected in the southern part of the area. So let's go through Futurecast hour by hour. This is Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. That's at the very beginning of this storm moving into the area. So some freezing rain, sleet possible in southern counties, the snow entering our northern counties. By 9 a.m., pretty much the entire area covered in some form of wintry precipitation, snow, sleet, freezing rain. The same thing at lunchtime on Wednesday. So we're covered with winter precipitation. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we'll still have snow and a wintry mix across the viewing area. And this is going to linger into the evening commute as well. A look at our snow and ice totals for Wednesday. Let's see if I can go back there. In the area shaded in blue, it's 4 to 6 inches of snow, not expecting ice. So northern counties get the most snow this time. That's pretty typical for our winter events that move through. And this area that does include the triangle, 2 to 4 inches of snow and less than 1/10 of an inch of ice. And then in our southern counties, the area shaded in pink, that's where we could see about 1 inch of snow, but higher ice accumulations, maybe as high as 3/10 of an inch. So this is the area where we're concerned for some spotty power outages as well. I'll talk more about this winter storm and how long we could feel these impacts from this particular system coming up in just a little bit.
NCDOT says it wants people to stay home when this winter weather hits because of the possibility of that ice Amy mentioned. WRAL's Brett Neese is live from the maintenance yard right now with how this storm is different for crews this time around. Brett.
Hey, Jeff, good afternoon. Yeah, these crews, they are out all day today. They've been out since Sunday, and a number of them have loaded up here at the salt barn and have gotten things ready to go. They are trying to hit as many roads as possible before this winter weather gets into our area. Now, because temperatures have never dropped below freezing last night, crews are actually out all night long putting brine down. Officials say that is helping them be more prepared than ever for this particular storm. The possibility for ice in different parts of our area could weigh down some trees and knock out power lines. NCDOT says that would be a different challenge for them than the last 2 winter storms, but their crews are ready.
That is something we haven't had to do so far this year. We have only had to deal with, maybe trees coming down, clearing them from the road, pushing them off to the side, plowing the snow off the interstates, plowing the snow off the secondary roads. So ice will change this up in the sense of how we respond, but not necessarily how we prepare.
So crews will be out preparing those roads all day again today and tomorrow after not dealing with a winter storm in over 1,000 days. They've already had to deal with now 3 in just the last several weeks. Live in Raleigh, Brett Neese, WRAL News.
And just kind of speaking a little bit to what Brett was talking about, other places that are experiencing some winter weather right now. In fact, that is why we are seeing all these delays. Look at this, 738 delays right now and 83 cancellations, according to our FlightAware misery map. Looking at New York City, where it's basically almost half misery as it's designated, we're talking 156 delays there and 20 cancellations alone. But you may be wondering, well, what does that mean for here at our local area, right? RDU. Well, let's take a look. If you look at the FlightAware of the cancellations and delays, 53 right now at RDU at last check with 21 cancellations. We'll be watching very closely to see if that improves. But mind you, this morning we're talking about just 18 different delays and now 53. Significant update.
Yeah, before things go full misery, get the latest weather updates from our team of experienced meteorologists in the WRAL News app. It's free to download, and when you sign up for push notifications, we can send you the most up-to-date information right to your phone.
We are following breaking news out of downtown Raleigh. A truck plowed into a popular concert venue. We sent you the alert on this story to your phone around 10 o'clock this morning. We've learned the truck drove into the front doors of the Lincoln Theater. That's on Cabarrus Street. We are working to learn exactly what happened and whether anybody was hurt in this. The next event listed on the Lincoln Theater's website is for Wednesday night.
Happening right now, local groups are protesting the ongoing legal battle over the North Carolina State Supreme Court race. It still hasn't been decided. Democrat Allison Riggs received about 700 more votes than Republican Jefferson Griffin, who is challenging the eligibility of about 60,000 ballots. WRAL state government reporter Paul Spey joins us right now live from downtown Raleigh. And Paul, how many people are you seeing there for this?
We're seeing a few dozen people down here just north of Fayetteville Street. They say Democrat Allison Riggs won her race fair and square. They're upset that this case is dragging out in court. And this is the last remaining statewide race in the country that hasn't been certified yet. Republican Jefferson Griffin has raised a number of issues with these ballots, saying some absentee ballots were cast by military members who don't live in North Carolina and that thousands of voter registrations are out of date. The case is now headed to the State Court of Appeals. Protesters and organizers describe Griffin's case as sort of a Hail Mary to try to overturn the election results.
And the County Board of Elections is like, oh, well, your name had a hyphen in it, or you had two last names, so it just didn't verify. And so because of tiny clerical errors that was no fault of the voters themselves, their voice might be taken away. And in a moment where people feel a lot of distrust in their politicians, it's people like Jefferson Griffin who are worsening election integrity in this state. And
now, the Republican Party sent us a statement accusing the Democrats of not wanting to follow the rule of law. They say just like the Democrats in Washington are protesting in Congress against responsible government spending, these North Carolina Democrats today are protesting against following the law and counting the legal votes of North Carolina citizens. Now, there's some other protests planned for downtown Raleigh today. We'll bring you those updates as they happen. Live in Raleigh, Paul Spey.
Apex Mayor Jacques Gilbert plans to talk with the town manager today to ensure the town is providing proactive communication about utility bills. Gilbert says that he has heard from many residents about unusually high utility bills in the past few days. This comes as a third-party review team looks into the town's billing systems after a cyber attack back in July. Some residents received double bills after that attack. The independent analysis is expected to be complete sometime in March.
Teachers in Wake County schools will get a digital panic button today, so it'll be ready to use when students return to school tomorrow. About 130 schools will get these Rave app buttons, and it'll launch today. It allows staff to signal an emergency with the press of a button on their phone. Staff members are not required to download the app. Even if they don't do it, they will still get the notifications for it. Some teachers in Wake Public Schools have a teacher workday today.
Durham Mayor Leonardo Williams will present his second State of the City address tomorrow. Williams says that he'll outline his key objectives and priorities for the city this year. The address begins at 7 p.m. inside the Carolina Theater. The event is free and open to the public. You can also watch it on the city's YouTube channel that starts at 7.
Today, the Kremlin said top Russian officials will hold talks with the U.S. The plan is to discuss restoring ties, negotiating a peaceful settlement to the war in Ukraine, and preparing a meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and President Trump. NBC's Richard Engel is in Ukraine with how the two sides could come to an agreement.
Here in the southern Ukrainian city of Kherson, which is often attacked by Russian forces. In fact, Russian troops are stationed not far from here right now. Ukrainians are watching what is happening, this push by President Trump to reach a peace deal with mixed feelings. Obviously, they want the war to end. They want Russia to stop attacking because Ukrainians haven't been able to go to work. Children haven't been able to go to school here for years. They want to come out of their shelters and go back to living a normal life. But they don't want peace on any terms, and they don't want President Trump to impose a peace deal on them. Currently, Russian forces occupy about 20% of this country, and Ukrainians know in order to have some sort of negotiated peace deal, they're going to have to surrender some of that territory, potentially all of that territory, to Russia. But in exchange for that, in exchange for what would be extraordinarily painful sacrifices, it would mean giving up large cities to Russia, which Russia occupied by force. But in exchange for doing that, Ukrainians say at the very least they want security guarantees. They want assurances that Vladimir Putin won't just come in and reinvade this country again. And so far, the Trump administration has been reluctant to provide those security guarantees. But the highest level negotiations since the war began are now starting in earnest. On Tuesday, President Trump has ordered his administration to carry out high-level talks with Russian officials. And Russia confirmed today that Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister, is going to Saudi Arabia to meet with several senior Trump administration officials, including Secretary of State Rubio. For now, the Trump administration is meeting separately with Ukrainian and Russian officials ahead of joint talks, which still need to be scheduled.
Richard Engel reporting there from Ukraine. And within the last hour, French President Emmanuel Macron said he had a phone call with President Trump about the situation. This is all happening as European leaders gathered in Paris today for an emergency meeting, saying Trump has shut them out of peace talks.
And Israeli President Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel's security cabinet will meet today to discuss the second phase of the ceasefire deal with Hamas. This comes as Netanyahu signaled that he is moving ahead with Trump's proposal to transfer the Palestinian population out of Gaza. He calls it the only viable plan to enable a different future for that region. He discussed the plan with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who kicked off a Middle East visit by endorsing Israel's war aims in Gaza. Netanyahu appears to be ready to resume the fighting after the ceasefire's current phase, which ends in 2 weeks.
Also, Michelle, family members of Israeli hostages being held in Gaza gathered in Tel Aviv today to mark 500 days since the October 7th attack. Relatives came together outside the American embassy to call on President Donald Trump to help assure the release of all the hostages as soon as possible. Family members of hostages who were murdered by Hamas spoke during the event. Hamas released 3 hostages Saturday. The first phase of the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas ends in 2 weeks.
And we are hearing from the sister of Keith Siegel, the Chapel Hill man released by Hamas just weeks ago. Siegel's sister Lucy lives in Durham, and she tells us her brother spent more than 480 days as a hostage in Gaza. And during that time, she says Keith was able to push through the fear, the pain, and the uncertainty by thinking about the loved ones he hoped to see again.
He said he would start with our mother, and he'd have a conversation. So primarily these conversations were to himself in his head. Each day, throughout the day, that he would repeat to himself the day of the week, the month, the day of the month, and the year, over and over and over.
Keith and his wife Aviva are now living on the kibbutz in Israel, where Aviva moved following her release. Lucy says Keith hopes to return to North Carolina for a visit at some point.
Next at noon, record cold and now a dozen dead after the violent storms that followed. The parts of the country still in danger.
Also, high winds and Rocky Mount, how the Harley-Davidson shop avoided major damage yesterday.
And it's freezing with winter weather coming, so this is your reminder. Sign up for summer camp. At 12:30, how to avoid getting shut out.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.
Chris Levingood here in the WRAL Live Center. Something that I just saw pop across the feeds, 2 different things. So first of all, we have this camera up right here that appears to be at Trump International Golf Club, and they kind of have these up in case the president's going to be there or what may be happening. But then the next panel over, this is in Miami right now, where there is a protest that's called the Not My President rally there. Essentially, a lot of people voicing their disdain towards the president right now. Quite a few people obviously fired up because of some of the policy that the president brought in, including his executive orders. But I will tell you how the White House is responding, at least you'll see this picture on their official Facebook page saying, they're not after me, they're after you. I'm just standing in the way. On the left, we have the president's mugshot for when he had, after he had went to court that one particular day, and then another photo there.
Chris, thanks. At least 10 people are dead now after violent storms swept across parts of the country over the weekend.
As Kathy Park tells us, the danger is not over yet.
parts of the South recovering from a weekend of wild weather. Violent storms sweeping across Kentucky, Tennessee, and West Virginia, where streams and creeks surged to historic levels, making roads impassable and causing severe damage to homes and businesses. Rising waters proving too much for a levee that burst in Tennessee, flooding entire neighborhoods. While in other parts of the state, people and pets had to be rescued by boat. The extreme weather also spawning a destructive tornado in Alabama.
We have a lot of damage downtown. You can see behind me, roofs are blown off. Most of our buildings.
In Kentucky, flash flooding stranding drivers and residents across the state. First responders finding themselves caught in the chaos too. This firehouse in Hazard flooded by the intense rains. At least 9 fatalities reported in Kentucky. The governor saying most of the tragedies occurred as people tried to drive through high water, including a mother and her child.
This is one of the most serious weather events we've dealt with in at least a decade. The biggest challenge of this event is it's everywhere.
President Trump approving a disaster declaration for Kentucky. And it's not over yet, as the state braces for powerful winds and more snow. In Louisville, the wintry mess being blamed for this massive pileup. A blast of snow also barreling across the Great Lakes and into New England, where officials say it may have played a role in this partial building collapse.
And that was Kathy Park reporting. Governor Josh Stein is deploying swift water rescue teams from North Carolina to Kentucky. He says neighbors showing up for each other is the North Carolina way. Kentucky was here for us during Helene, and now it's our turn to return the favor.
A line of storms that moved through our area damaged several buildings, including Flatiron Harley-Davidson in Rocky Mount. The entire front facade of that building was torn off by the wind just before the dealership opened yesterday morning. Nothing inside the building was damaged. Nobody was hurt. We talked with an employee who heard it all happen.
It was huge relief because we could have easily been outside, maybe moving bikes around, anything like that. So it is a blessing to all of us that everybody stayed safe. Nobody got hit with debris. None of the windows got crashed in, which is beautiful.
Yeah, so nobody was injured. No Harleys were harmed. Despite the damage, Flatiron Harley-Davidson was still open for business all day long and will reopen this week with its regular hours.
The storm also shattered windows of 2 patient rooms at Cape Fear Valley Medical Center. The hospital says a cover, part of the HVAC system there, dislodged and hit those windows on the 7th floor. One of the rooms was occupied at the time, but the patient was not hurt.
Ahead of our impending winter storm, Durham Rescue Mission is gearing up to help people in need. The mission will provide shelter and hot meals to those most vulnerable. 2 teams are being sent to search for people in need of emergency shelter in the Triangle area. The warm shelter will last until the extremely cold weather is over, and they say no one will be turned away.
All right, let's turn now to weather to find out what's going on. Meteorologist Amy Wilmoth in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. She's timing everything out for us.
This is the timing of arrival of winter precipitation, depending on where you live. So if you're shaded in this bright pink area, that's a 6 to 8 a.m. arrival time Wednesday morning. So this is going to arrive right during the morning commute. In the Triangle area, we're talking about 7 to 9 a.m. Same thing for Goldsboro. And then in our northern counties, between 8 and 9 a.m. So that's the arrival of the system. And we can time this out with you with Futurecast as well. Here's 7 a.m. Notice how we have a wintry mix in the southern part of the area, the snow approaching our northwestern counties at that point. By 9 a.m., most of us covered with some kind of wintry precipitation. As a parent of a Wake County kid, 2 of them, I'm planning for my kids to be home at least Wednesday and Thursday, just to kind of give you a heads up of some planning you might want to get done. This is a look at Wednesday, the northern half at lunchtime getting snow, the southern half getting a mixed bag of sleet, freezing rain and snow. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we still have the snow coming down in the northern half of the area, a bit of a wintry mix perhaps in parts of Wake County and points to the south. And even for the evening commute Wednesday, it could be a bit of a mess as the system pulls away from us. We'll still have some freezing rain, sleet, and snow falling for the evening commute. Thursday morning, I wanted to point out, as this system moves away, we could have some wraparound moisture, so we could have a quick burst of some snow in our northern counties. That's Thursday morning. So this will linger into Thursday, and we could probably have some impacts Friday as well. More on that in a moment. This is a look at the potential for an inch of snow, and it's pretty high for the Triangle and points to the north. 80 to 90% chance that we get at least an inch of snow. I think in our northern counties, we could see 3 to 5 inches of snow, and the Triangle probably up to about 3 inches in parts of the Triangle. Now, south of the Triangle, really the central part of Wake County and points to the south, that's where we could have some significant icing. We could see 1/4 inch of ice possible in this area, and that's where we could see the potential for some power outages. And I do think these impacts are going to continue for a few days because these are the morning low temperatures. Wednesday morning, 28, that's when the system arrives. So I think really most of the day Wednesday, you just want to try to stay home. Thursday morning, the low is 24. So roads are still going to be bad through the day on Thursday. And Friday morning, 18 for the low. So if there's still stuff on the road, and I think there will be, at least in parts of the viewing area, we could have some impacts into Friday. Even Saturday, a low of 21. So we could still have some slick roads Saturday. So this is going to last for a while, I think, at least the impacts. This is a live look at North Hills. We have some quiet weather for today and for tomorrow. So enough time to get to the store and kind of prepare. We have pretty nice weather today, lots of sunshine, but it's chilly. Our high just 49 in the Triangle, and we'll get down into the upper 20s overnight tonight. So it's going to be cold tomorrow morning. We'll get up to about 52 tomorrow afternoon, another quiet day for us, but then we have the weather alert day Wednesday with the winter storm arriving. And again, I think we'll have impacts through probably Friday, maybe even into the weekend, but at least we climb back into the 40s for highs on Saturday and Sunday.
All right, thank you, Amy. And coming up today on WRAL News at 4, a rabid bobcat, where it was spotted and how many people say they were attacked by it.
Also, that winter weather on the way versus school days. On WRAL News at 6, how the next winter storm could affect your child and the amount of time they're in the classroom this year. Also still ahead this noon, more layoffs. Hundreds of federal workers were given the pink slip over the weekend. Next, why the move is now being criticized.
And time is running out. Sign-ups for summer camps in Raleigh are now open. What parents need to know to secure a spot for their child. Five on Your Side is monitoring your consumer news. The markets are closed today, but we are looking forward to several economic reports this week. Maribel Aber shares today's business headlines from the NASDAQ market site in New York.
The stock market is closed today in observance of the President's Day holiday. And when Wall Street comes back to work tomorrow, there will be plenty of economic reports to weigh during the week. Tuesday, investors will get the latest on manufacturing along with an index of confidence among home builders. And more on the real estate market on Wednesday. That's when the latest figures on housing starts and building permits are due out. A look at the labor market on Thursday with the latest figures on weekly jobless claims and reports on existing home sales and the service sector are due out Friday. As for stocks, all three of the major indices have been trading higher so far this year. The Dow has had the best performance, up as much as 5% in 2024. And President's Day has become a major shopping holiday. It offers retailers a chance to offer big discounts for the first time in the new year. Website Deal News says you can find savings on mattresses, furniture, clothing, even some large appliances and electronics. You can find deals at dealnews.com. That's the latest in business news on this President's Day holiday. I'm Maribel Aber at the NASDAQ market site in New York.
The Trump administration has started firing hundreds of Federal Aviation Administration probationary employees. We don't know the exact number of people fired, but their union says several hundred workers started getting notices Friday. The workers could be barred from accessing FAA facilities tomorrow, right after the holiday. This comes less than 3 weeks since the mid-air collision over Washington, D.C. that killed 67 people. That crash highlighted shortages of air traffic controllers and FAA infrastructure issues. Calling all parents. Up next, how you can sign your kids up for Raleigh's summer camps and the options available to keep them entertained.
Plus, thanking supporters. Next, how the post the United Healthcare murder suspect made is showing appreciation to those who are standing behind him during the case.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
The next winter storm is just days away. It's expected to arrive by midweek this week.
Yeah, it's why we've declared WRAL Weather Alert Day, WRAL Weather Alert Day for Wednesday. Meteorologist Amy Wilmoth is here to show us when travel will be really tricky on the roads.
It's going to start to get bad as early as the morning commute on Wednesday. Wednesday is a day you just want to stay home, but I think the roads are going to be bad Thursday and perhaps into Friday for parts of the area. So the winter storm itself arrives Wednesday morning during the morning commute. Most of the snow, the heaviest snow, will be along I-40 and points to the north, but we're also going to have some icing, and that's going to happen during the morning commute as well, continuing on and off throughout the day. So slick roads will be likely as we progress through the day on Wednesday. I think we're going to have some problem on the roads on Thursday as well and Friday. Some very cold air back behind this system. And we do have the chance for some ice, and that could lead to some power outages, especially in the southern half of the area. So this is a look at the different precipitation types depending on where you are. So find out where you are on the map. Areas in blue, this is where it's going to mostly be a snow event. And this is very typical with winter systems in central North Carolina. We get a bit of a mix because we see some warm temperatures coming in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and that changes over some of that snow to a wintry mix. And that's what we see from about central Wake County and points to the south. We could see a mix of sleet, freezing rain, and snow. And in the area in green, the extreme southern parts of our viewing area, that's where we could see some freezing rain and rain. Look at all of the winter alerts already in place as this system approaches our area. We don't have any for us, but I would expect some of these winter alerts to be extended into North Carolina to account for the winter storm that's definitely going to come on Wednesday, and the impacts will continue perhaps into the end of the week with those cold temperatures. Coming up, we're going to take a look at Futurecast and see about how much sleet we could get versus freezing rain and snow. We'll take a look at that coming up.
All right, thank you, Amy. And you can get the latest weather updates from our team of experienced meteorologists in the WRAL News app. It is free to download, and when you sign up for push notifications, we can send the most up-to-date information right to your phone.
Okay, you want some happy thoughts? Hard to believe we could be talking about this with the snow coming, but parents, you need to know about this summer moment taking place. Starting today, you can sign up your kid for a Raleigh summer camp. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey shares what you need to know.
Spots are filling up quickly. Dozens of camps are already full. I did check the list, and it seems like there are a few wait lists left and some are still available. But check out this screenshot from when registration opened earlier at 6:30 this morning. There were more than 500 people waiting in the queue. The city of Raleigh is doing staggered registration again this year. Camps have a designated day for signups today through Wednesday. Registration is first come, first serve. Today, more than a dozen camps have opened their registration, including Briar Creek, Durant, and Walnut Creek parks. For a full list of designated registration days, go to our website, WRAL.com. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Raleigh.
An ambulance crashed at an intersection and overturned last night in Fayetteville. It happened at the intersection of Purdue Drive and Cardiff Drive. The crash caused the ambulance to overturn. There were no patients on board at the time, and the staff on board are expected to be okay. The cause of the crash is under investigation, and WRAL News is also working to learn if any other vehicles were involved in the crash.
A Charlotte flight attendant was laid to rest more than 2 weeks now after she was killed during the mid-air collision over the Potomac River in D.C. The celebration of life for Denasia Elder was overflowing with family, friends, and airline employees from across the country. It was highlighted by fun stories from family and friends, remembering the little things about her that made her laugh. Flight crews from American Airlines, Delta, Southwest, and more showed up to remember their colleague in the skies, even if they didn't actually know her.
That was the main thing, to support the family and stand in solidarity. That's right. Yeah. We do this every day, and we're truly united by wings.
It took this for us to come together, but we really, really showed up for her. And I hope that her family knows, and her children especially. They just gained thousands of aunties and uncles they don't even know.
Elder was one of 64 people on board that regional American Airlines jet. It was based out of Charlotte and was hit by the Black Hawk helicopter January 29th. Everyone aboard that flight and the 3 soldiers on the helicopter died.
Murder suspect Luigi Mangione has sent a message to his supporters from behind bars for the first time. Those statements coming as a new documentary out today is exploring the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson as the accused killer gets closer to having his day in court. Sam Brock has more details about Mangione's message from behind bars.
This morning, accused killer Luigi Mangione speaking out from inside a jail cell for the first time. In a message to his supporters on a new website, Mangione, in his own words, writing, "I am overwhelmed by and grateful for everyone who has written me to share their stories and express their support. While it is impossible for me to reply to most letters, please know that I read every one that I receive." His defense team launching the website on behalf of their client to provide accurate information about his cases and dispel misinformation.
It's uncommon to hear from a defendant behind bars like this because most defendants don't generate this level of public interest.
Mangione now bolstering his counsel ahead of his court appearance later this week while awaiting trial at a federal jail in New York City.
Not guilty.
Adding a court-appointed death penalty legal expert to his team after pleading not guilty to several charges, including first-degree murder in the furtherance of terrorism and the federal count of murder using a firearm that could result in capital punishment. In the midst of the brewing legal battle, a new investigation discovery documentary, Who is Luigi Mangione, is out today on Max, all about the murder of healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, featuring new first-hand accounts about the accused gunman at the center of it all.
He's just like a normal, happy-go-lucky kind of 26-year-old guy. I don't know what would motivate someone like that, to do something like that.
Ahead of the Ivy League grad's upcoming court appearance, money from supporters is now pouring into his legal fund, reaching nearly $500,000. Some reportedly from healthcare professionals, according to organizers.
And that was Sam Brock reporting. Well, several factors make up a healthy lifestyle, and sleep is at the top of that list. Why getting enough of it is vital to your health.
Also, a shortage of cattle in the U.S. is driving up the price of beef. We'll tell you what's causing it.
There is growing concern about a measles outbreak making its way across the nation. Cases are now being reported in 6 states. In West Texas, confirmed cases more than doubled in a week from 24 to 49. 13 kids have been hospitalized so far, but many people are not getting tested. So health officials believe the true number of measles cases could be as high as 200 to 300.
And as egg prices climb sky high, Trump administration officials say they have a new plan to combat bird flu. For a long time, the U.S. has dealt with avian flu by eradicating sick birds. But officials say the new plan involves medication that would avoid killing all those chickens. The strategy comes as the virus has been reported spreading to other types of animals. Officials say their plan should be ready by next week. And with the peak of flu season here, getting the right amount of sleep could be essential to staying healthy.
Yeah, doctors say that missing sleep does not allow the immune system to work at its full capacity. Aside from catching a cold, chronic insomnia can increase the risk of developing conditions like diabetes and heart disease. And doctor and sleep specialist Nancy Faldveri suggests taking note of any ongoing sleep issues and bringing them up to your doctor.
And if you have symptoms related to your sleep, for example, snoring, or you're excessively sleepy during the day for no clear reasons, talk to your doctor, and because you may need a sleep study or be evaluated by a sleep expert.
And Dr. Faldveri says that an undiagnosed sleep disorder could be an issue for some, and addressing it is key to maintaining your overall health.
The number of cattle in the U.S. has dropped to its lowest level in about 70 years. The Department of Agriculture reports a 2% decrease in January from the previous year. Texas A&M professor and economist David Anderson says weather conditions across the country are to blame for this. The drop in cattle inventory is causing higher prices for beef. With beef prices reaching record highs already this year, Anderson expects it will eventually lead to ranchers expanding their herds to help offset the costs.
Just ahead, Helene's aftermath. 5 on your side is taking on the problems plaguing western North Carolina. Coming up, the biggest hurdle Helene victims are facing after the storm.
Plus, managing stress, how a healthy relationship could improve your health.
5 on your side is taking on the problems plaguing western North Carolina following Hurricane Helene. The team traveled to Buncombe, Yancey, Mitchell, and McDowell counties to survey the damage done by Helene and find out what's being done and step in when possible. One of the biggest problems is insurance coverage.
How much did insurance cover for this?
What's zero and zero equals what? Zero.
5 on your side is helping that family in their fight against an insurance denial. Tonight's report begins a series of special reports that will bring you all week long, focused on western North Carolina's recovery from Hurricane Helene. Look for Keeley's reports every night at 5 and 6 p.m. right here on WRAL.
Stress is often linked to health concerns like anxiety, insomnia, and fatigue, but it could also cause the same issues in others around you. Scientists say couples who manage stress poorly are hostile toward one another. If they are, they have higher inflammation, stress hormones, and blood pressure. Rosie Shroud is a professor at Purdue University, and she says relationship stress should be considered a public health priority because of its potential risks.
Distressed spouses not only have an increased risk for divorce, but also for disease development and early mortality.
And for couples in a stressful relationship, Shroud says the first step is to talk things out. Another way to potentially lower stress is helping each other with daily tasks. Shroud also says simply finding time to relax together could lessen negative health concerns.
Yeah, communication is key, right?
All of the above.
Yes.
Right there. No doubt.
Yes.
Amy Wilmoth over in the WRAL Severe Weather Center right now, taking this hour-by-hour look at our temperatures dropping all the way.
That's right. It is a chilly day today. It'll be a cold night tonight. But if you have some errands to run, maybe you're trying to prepare for the winter storm that's headed our way for Wednesday. Out and about today, the weather's quiet. Lots of sunshine, a high of 49. And then we'll be in the 30s by 8 p.m. We'll eventually get down into the upper 20s tonight. Let's focus on Wednesday. It's a weather alert day because a winter storm is headed our way. There's no doubt we're going to feel the impacts Wednesday, and it will likely continue for Thursday and maybe even Friday. Precip types, we're talking about snow and ice, freezing rain, sleet, snow, we'll get all of it. Roads will be slick beginning Wednesday morning and continuing for the following couple of days. We'll have icy conditions, especially in the southern half of the area. We could see ice over a quarter of an inch in some spots, and that could lead to power outages. The amount of snowfall, so the heaviest snow, no surprise here really, in the northern counties, 3 to 5 inches of snow. In the triangle area, anywhere from about 1 to 3 inches of snow and up to maybe half an inch for some of our southern communities. This is a look at the potential sleet accumulation, maybe up to an inch or even a little bit more in southern parts of our viewing area. So you can see south of the triangle, it's more of an ice situation. We also have the chance for some freezing rain mixing in at times. And in areas that you see the 0.3 of an inch in our southern counties, this is the area where we could see some power outages. And we'll certainly keep you posted on how this plays out with the newer model runs. Kat will have the latest starting at 4 o'clock on WRAL. This is something that's kind of interesting to look at. So this line here denotes where temperatures are below freezing. So I have that on the map with our temperatures and the precipitation. Wednesday morning at 7 a.m., that's when this precipitation likely starts in our southern counties. It could be a wintry mix down here. Temperatures are above freezing. From the triangle points to the north, temperatures are already below freezing, and they'll just stay that way through the day on Wednesday. Here's 10 a.m. Notice how from the triangle points to the north, we have temperatures below freezing. Southern areas just a little bit above freezing, and that's where we're likely to see the wintry mix. Pretty much the same thing at lunchtime, although we're noticing these numbers dropping down to around freezing around lunchtime, and that's when the roads could become slick for southern counties. As we head toward the evening commute, everybody has temperatures at or below freezing, so whatever's on the road, whatever's coming down, it is going to cause issues on the roads. This is 7 p.m. We still have below freezing temperatures and also the precip falling. So the precip will be falling through the day Wednesday into very early Thursday, but I want to point out some of the numbers here. Wednesday night, we get down to 24, so anything on the roads will be frozen. Thursday afternoon, a high of only 36 with some clouds, so we're going to struggle to do any melting on Thursday. That's why I'd say plan for your kids to be home Wednesday, Thursday, maybe even into part of Friday. Friday morning's low, 18, so anything on the roads will be frozen. 39 for the high on Friday. We start to see some improvement in our high temperatures over the weekend, but still very cold in the morning. But high temperatures over the weekend will climb into the mid to upper 40s.
18 degrees at Bryan starts to not work also. So just keep it here tuned to us. Celebrating 50 years, SNL held a star-studded show over the weekend in honor of its milestone. I had the big names featured in the 3-hour show. And we wrap things up with a look at a few of the headlines we're following for you today.
Wednesday is a WRAL weather alert day as winter weather moves in. The possibility for ice in different parts of our area could weigh down trees and knock out some power lines. The NCDOT says that would be a different challenge for them than the last 2 winter storms, but their crews are ready. Crews will be out prepping roads all day again today and tomorrow.
With some breaking news out of downtown Raleigh, a truck plowed into a popular concert venue there. That truck drove into the front doors of the Lincoln Theater on Cabarrus Street. We are working to learn exactly what happened there and whether anyone was injured. The next event listed on the Lincoln Theater's website is Wednesday night.
And happening right now, local groups are protesting the ongoing legal battle over the North Carolina Supreme Court race, which still has not been decided. This is a live look over downtown Raleigh. Democrat Allison Riggs received about 700 more votes than Republican Jefferson Griffin, who is challenging the eligibility of about 60,000 ballots. The case is now headed to the State Court of Appeals.
That scene has grown significantly in the last hour since we've been on the air. There were a few dozen people down there. Now it looks like a couple hundred.
Yeah, we'll continue to follow that throughout the day. Well, it was an all hands on deck for a night for SNL's 50th anniversary special.
Decades of all our favorite TV stars and musicians came together for a 3-hour celebration. Here's part of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Adam Sandler. Yeah, baby! Let's hear it for Jack, baby! Jack made it out tonight!
Yeah, Jack Nicholson introduced Adam Sandler, and then he played a wonderful song on the guitar, hugely imaginative. Steve Martin, Eddie Murphy, Mike Myers, Amy Poehler, so many other alums made appearances in the show. Sabrina Carpenter, Paul Simon, among many musical guests. The show featured new sketches from some of the most popular reoccurring segments. All of this celebrating 50 seasons of Saturday Night Live.
Oh, what a night it was.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
Tiny hands.
Yeah. Well, Steph Curry raising the trophy high after winning the NBA All-Star Game in San Francisco. Shaquille O'Neal drafted Curry, beating out Charles Barkley's global stars in the final last night. The mini tournament tested a new format for the NBA this year. First team to 40 points wins. Curry was the MVP on his home floor at Chase Center, where he and the Golden State Warriors play.
Pet of the day time now comes from the Animal Adoption and Rescue Foundation, known as ARF, and this is Marshall. He is a middle-aged German Shepherd. What a sharp-looking fella right there. Marshall is described as kind-hearted and loyal. Contact ARF if you are interested. There are no adoption fees for retired military, servicemen, or teachers.
What a sweetie. Well, a bobcat encounter. North Carolina Wildlife Control testing a bobcat for rabies after a recent attack. Coming up on WRAL News at 4, where it happened and how that person is doing right now.
Not so cute and cuddly there.
No, the bobcat's not cute. All right, well, NBC News Daily is next on WRAL. Your next local news update is in 30 minutes.
You can always get breaking news updates anytime with our WRAL News app. Keep it tuned here. We'll have a great day, and we'll see you a little later.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air channel 34 and Spectrum channel 1257.